Picture this. Friedrich Nietzsche, 1882, proclaims, "God is dead, and the world loses its mind." Philosophers call it revolutionary. Theologians call it blasphemy. But here's what nobody tells you. A Jewish lens grinder in 17th century Amsterdam had already killed God 200 years earlier, and he did it so thoroughly, so brutally, that they excommunicated him, tried to stab him in the street, and his name became synonymous with atheism for centuries. But here's the twist. Baruch Spinoza never stopped using the word God. In fact, his entire philosophy revolves around God. So how did he kill the divine while worshiping it? And why did Nietzsche, the man who declared God dead, call Spinoza his only predecessor? What you're about to discover will flip everything you think you know about God, nature, reality, and that famous philosophical murder that changed Western thought forever. Baruch Spinoza, or as he Dutchified his name, Benedict de Spinoza. Born in Amsterdam, 1632, to a family of Portuguese Jews who'd fled the Inquisition. Smart kid, studied the Torah, seemed destined to be a good Jewish merchant like his father. Then, at age 24, the Jewish community of Amsterdam did something they'd only done once before and would never do again. They didn't just excommunicate him, they cursed him. Full biblical wrath. The decree literally says, "Cursed be he by day, and cursed be he by night. Cursed be he when he lies down, and cursed be he when he rises up." For what crime? Here's the kicker. He hadn't written a single book yet. 0 published works. He had been teaching 2 students about God, and word got back to the rabbis. What did he say? 3 things that made their heads explode. 1. God cannot be immaterial. 2. God cannot be eternal in the traditional sense. 3. The soul cannot be immortal. The rabbis saw the future in those 3 claims, and they were terrified, because Spinoza spent his entire life talking about God. His magnum opus, the Ethics, is basically a 300-page mathematical proof about God. So how is he an atheist? Here's where it gets wild. Spinoza had a formula, 3 words in Latin that destroyed 2,000 years of religious orthodoxy. Deus sive Natura. God, or, that is, nature. Now, your first instinct might be, oh, so God is in the trees and rivers, very mystical. Wrong? Dead wrong. That's the sanitized version they teach in intro philosophy classes. What Spinoza actually meant was far more radical. God doesn't just inhabit nature. God is nature, not the mountains and rivers, the totality, the whole, everything that exists. Period. Think about what this does. If God equals nature equals reality equals everything, then what happens to heaven? It vanishes. Because if God is everywhere, truly, actually everywhere, then there's no elsewhere for God to be. No transcendent realm. No paradise waiting after death. No separate supernatural dimension where the real action happens. The technical term is immanence. God is immanent, right here, in this, not transcendent, out there, beyond this. And when God becomes immanent, the entire power structure of institutional religion collapses. 2 centuries later, a German philosopher would read this collapse and recognize it as the beginning of something irreversible. Here's the part most people miss. For 2,000 years, every major religion operated on the same basic deal. This world sucks, but if you follow our rules, you get to the good world, heaven, paradise, nirvana, whatever. And conveniently, we, the priests, rabbis, imams, we hold the keys to that other world. It's the ultimate leverage. Behave or burn. Comply or be damned. Give us money, power, obedience, and maybe, you'll get your reward after you die. Spinoza looked at this and said, there is no other world, no heaven to gain, no hell to avoid, no cosmic waiting room where you're judged by a bearded man in the sky. This reality, right here, right now, this is the only show in town. Without the carrot of heaven and the stick of hell, they've got nothing. But here's what makes Spinoza truly dangerous. He didn't throw God away. He took the same holy texts everyone revered, and through pure rational analysis, proved that they pointed toward a completely different God, an impersonal, infinite, eternal totality that doesn't give a damn about your prayers, your rituals, or whether you eat pork. He called this biblical criticism. He basically invented it. 15 chapters systematically dismantling every miracle, every supernatural claim, every anthropomorphic projection. His conclusion? Miracles are just ignorance. What seems impossible today will be explained by science tomorrow. The rabbis saw this coming. If one guy can read the Torah and come away with, God is just nature, what happens when everyone starts reading critically? The whole thing unravels. So they cursed him. They banned him. Someone even tried to stab him outside a theater. He kept the torn cloak with the word caught stitched into it. Caution. A reminder to stay hidden, stay careful. Now let's get into the philosophy because this is where it gets beautiful. Spinoza wrote the Ethics like a geometry textbook. Axioms, theorems, proofs, the whole thing. Why? Because he believed reality itself has a mathematical structure. If you think clearly enough, you can understand God the way Euclid understood triangles. Here's his argument. A substance is something that exists in itself and needs nothing else to exist. Question: how many substances can there be? Spinoza's answer: 1. Because if there were two substances, each would limit the other, meaning neither would be truly infinite or self-sufficient. Therefore, only one substance exists. What is it? God. Nature? Reality. The universe. All synonyms. Everything else, you, me, this video, stars, thoughts, feelings, we're not separate things. We're modes, modifications, ripples in the one substance. Imagine the ocean. Waves aren't separate from water. They're patterns the water makes. Spinoza says we're like that. Temporary, finite expressions of the infinite whole. Your body? A mode of God's physical attribute. Your mind? A mode of God's thinking attribute. But you're not two things stapled together. You're one thing expressing itself in two languages. That's his solution to the mind-body problem. Descartes said mind and body are different substances that somehow interact, and couldn't explain how. Spinoza said they're the same thing viewed from different angles, no interaction needed. Problem solved. But here's the kicker. God has infinite attributes. We only know two: thought and extension. There are literally infinite ways God expresses itself that we can't even conceive. Let that land. And this creates a problem no one talks about. If you and I are just finite modes of one infinite substance, what happens when we die? We dissolve back into the whole. The wave flattens back into the ocean. No heaven. No hell. No individual immortal soul floating up to meet Abraham. Just back to nature. Back to God. Back to the one. And if that's true, then this life, this exact moment right here, is the only game in town. There's no real life waiting after death. This is the real life. Spinoza's ethics follows from this. Maximize your joy, your power, your freedom, now. Not to earn points for later, but because flourishing is what aligns you with God/nature. He literally has equations for emotions. Joy equals increase in your power to exist. Sadness equals decrease in power. Love equals joy plus external cause. Hate equals sadness plus external cause. He's treating human psychology like physics, because to him, it is physics. Fast forward 200 years. 1881, Switzerland. Friedrich Nietzsche writes a postcard to a friend. I am utterly amazed, utterly enchanted. I have a precursor, and what a precursor! I hardly knew Spinoza. What amazed him? 5 points of agreement, denial of free will, denial of a moral world order, denial of selflessness, denial of evil, denial of a transcendent God. But the deepest connection? Immanence. Nietzsche's whole project was killing the Christian God, the judgmental father figure, the cosmic accountant tallying sins and virtues, the guarantor of meaning sitting outside the universe pulling strings. Sound familiar? Spinoza had already murdered that God. He just did it so politely, using the word God the whole time, that it took people a while to realize what happened. When Nietzsche shouted, "God is dead," he was delivering the eulogy for a corpse Spinoza had already buried. Here's Nietzsche's version. God is dead. God remains dead. And we have killed him. But the punchline? How shall we comfort ourselves, the murderers of all murderers? Because Nietzsche saw what Spinoza understood viscerally. When you kill the transcendent God, you don't just lose religion. You lose the foundation for objective morality, cosmic purpose, guaranteed meaning. The universe doesn't care about you. There's no script, no director, no happily ever after encoded into the fabric of reality. Spinoza was fine with this. He said, "Then create your own meaning through understanding. The more you understand nature/God, the more you align with it, the more you experience what he called the intellectual love of God, the joy of comprehending reality." Nietzsche took it darker. Fine. No inherent meaning? Then create meaning through will, through power, through saying yes to life, even though it's absurd and cyclical and ends in death. The Übermensch, Nietzsche's higher human, is basically Spinoza's free man on steroids. Both said, this world, this life, this body, this is where divinity lives. Both said, traditional religion is a cope, a beautiful lie to make finite existence tolerable. Both got punished for it. Spinoza, excommunicated, nearly assassinated, spent his life grinding lenses in obscurity. Nietzsche, mocked, dismissed, went insane at 44, died in obscurity. And this is where everything changes. Because once you make God immanent, once you collapse heaven into earth, the traditional deity can't survive. You've removed its habitat. Spinoza's God doesn't intervene, doesn't answer prayers, doesn't reward or punish, doesn't even know you exist as an individual, because individuality itself is kind of an illusion from the perspective of the infinite. Is that really God anymore? Or is it just nature with a capital N? The religious called Spinoza an atheist. He called them idolaters, people worshipping a fantasy projection instead of reality itself. Who's right? Maybe both. Maybe neither. What's undeniable is this. Spinoza destroyed heaven. And in destroying heaven, he destroyed one of humanity's oldest, most powerful, most comforting myths, that this world is just a test, and the real party happens later. Nietzsche just made it explicit, made it brutal, made it impossible to ignore. Think about that for a second. Despite being excommunicated, stabbed at, cursed by religious authorities, Spinoza today is adored by philosophers. Marx read him. Einstein called himself a Spinozist. Deleuze wrote entire books about him. Why? Because he had the courage to follow reason wherever it led, even when it led straight into the scariest possible conclusion. You are temporary, reality is indifferent, and there's no cosmic safety net. And his response wasn't despair. It was, then understand reality deeply, maximize your power and joy, because this moment, right here, right now, this is all you've got, and it's also all you need. So next time someone credits Nietzsche with killing God, remember the lens grinder from Amsterdam who did it first. Quietly, methodically, with the precision of a mathematical proof. Spinoza didn't shout, "God is dead." He whispered, "God is everything," which amounts to the same thing. Because a God that's everything is also nothing special. A God that's everywhere is nowhere in particular. A God that's identical with nature doesn't need churches, doesn't demand worship, doesn't promise heaven. That God, the traditional, transcendent, interventionist deity, died in Spinoza's Ethics, written in geometric proofs while he ground lenses in The Hague. Nietzsche just wrote the death certificate. Ideas don't die when we stop talking about them. They die when someone thinks them through to their logical conclusion. Spinoza thought it through, all the way. And on the other side of that thinking, heaven disappeared. What remains? Just this. Just nature. Just reality. Just the infinite expressing itself in finite forms, temporarily, beautifully, indifferently. Deus sive Natura. God, or that is to say, nature. Same thing. Always was. And once you see that, you can't unsee it.